What up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Matt White. So, I'm going to be reviewing the latest installment of this whole MonsterVerse movie called Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. And you're seeing Godzilla and Kong facing a new threat called the Scar Cane, and it will challenge their very own existence with the Titans and the survival of the human race. Now, look, I had no anticipation going into Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire because I already know what I'm getting myself into because it's following the same trope, kind of like the Fast and Furious movies, for instance. You're not going to care about the human characters. You're not going to have a deep narrative story or the humanity of it. You just want to come in here and see a big monster fight. You want to see Godzilla and Kong teaming up and messing some things up, doing their little WWE match. That's what the marketing was presented in trailers, and we already know. And you brought back the same director who directed Godzilla versus Kong, and this was like during the post pandemic when we were slowly getting back into the theaters again. Now, look, I really enjoyed the Gareth Edwards' Godzilla film that came out almost 10 years ago. It's crazy how long that film has been out for that long. It feels like it came out yesterday. I liked it, but I did not love it because you completely killed off Bryan Cranston in the first hour of the film, and he's barely in it. And you cut away the monster fights a lot majority of the time, and you see less Godzilla in that movie. But it was still decent overall. And Kong Skull Island, which I enjoyed because I love seeing Kong mess some things up, but still did not care about the human characters. Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I thought it was the better than the first Godzilla movie because we got more monster fights, despite the human characters being very badly written, but they still deliver the monster fights and the entertainment, and that's what I really enjoyed. And I didn't come out of it feeling empty. And then with Godzilla versus Kong, I enjoyed seeing Godzilla and Kong fighting each other and duking it out, even though the human characters did nothing to impact their story, but it was still a fun entertainment overall, even though the movie was not great. So coming out of Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, I'm going to say that this movie is pretty much the worst out of all of them. Now, I will admit, I'll get the positives out of the way. The visual effects, the monster fights, and seeing Godzilla and Kong teaming up was pretty dope to watch. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy that. They definitely delivered it. But the human characters, again, clearly we still continue to not really give a shit about them. The only thing that brought the little bit of the humanity to this story is Rebecca Hall and this adopted girl that she took in that we saw in the last film, the one who's deaf who has learned sign language and connected with Kong in Godzilla versus Kong. She was supposed to be the indigenous tribe from Skull Island, and her family was killed during the storm, and she was the sole survivor. And Rebecca Hall's character, who is the head of the monarch, is the one that took her in and raised her. And and look, I thought it was a better moment in that film, but it was not saying much, especially when we're going to Hollow Earth to see what happened in the distress call and all the destruction that's going on in their outposts. You're already seeing Dan Stevenson's character, and you got Bernie, who is the podcast conspiracy theorist, who we saw in the last movie, which I completely disliked a lot. He's brought in just to do a documentary, and Dan Stevenson's character is playing a Titan veterinarian, completely useless. And the podcast conspiracy theorist Bernie doesn't really do much of anything other than try to document of the Hollow Earth because nobody believes that all the existence that he's seeing are real. Even though they're literally living in a world with Godzilla and Kong that everybody knows that they exist, and especially with the Titans, that doesn't make any sense, to be honest with you. It made no sense. We were spending so much time with some of the exposition heavy, explaining everything, basically narrating what's going on behind the scenes with Godzilla and Kong in the movie. I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to call it like I see it. This is a little bit more of Kong's movie than it was Godzilla, because Godzilla, majority of the film, he's just been channeling enough energy to get stronger and preparing for war. That's what he was really doing throughout the majority of the film. And you got less screen time for Godzilla than you are with Kong. And look, there are some cute moments that we see with the screen time with Kong in Mini Kong, whatever his name is. It had some cute moments, but I didn't really care for it at all. And because majority of the film, Kong has been very lonely on Hollow Earth, and he was looking to have a life or something, and that's what he's been doing for the majority of the time, while Godzilla is out there on the surface world protecting the world against the Titans. I just thought they did a little bit of a huge disservice to Godzilla. I feel like they didn't really use him much. He felt a little bit more of a cameo. Don't get me wrong, it was great to see Kong and Godzilla team up, but the way they handled it and the way they executed of why they would team up was so stupid. And the main villain, who is Scar King, He's supposed to be a big threat to Godzilla and Kong, and they're gonna and he's supposed to be the toughest opponent and the most frightening villain on screen. That's the way it was marketed. But he was brought in so late in the game. It took way too long to introduce this new villain, and he was not much of a threat at all. He was a little bitch. I'm not gonna lie. He was a weak villain, very forced, very generic, and very forgettable. They was just use something as an excuse to see Godzilla and Kong team up. There was a scene in the movie that might have been minor spoilers, but I don't care. But you're seeing Rebecca Hall explaining everything that's going on between the Titans and with Godzilla and Kong and what's going to happen next. She's literally reading it from a wall from an of these object of these people inside the writing on the wall. There's no real writing, and somehow she knows everything and predicted everything that's going to happen somehow. And she's analyzing everything that she's seen on that wall with just a bunch of objects. That really just frustrated me so much, and it was just like makes no fucking sense. It literally felt like a WWE commentator commenting on everything that's going on with these fighters in the ring. That's what it really felt like. It felt like that they had to spell it out for us as audience because apparently the studios treat us like we're stupid, like we don't know what the hell's going on. Like I did not like that at all. It was so stupid. And the human dialogue, every time that these characters talk, I cringe. And every time they try to throw out jokes, I cringe. I'm trying to have fun. I want to connect with these characters and I want to care about them. But we already know that they weren't even trying to get us to care. And they tried so hard to be funny that it just wasn't funny, and I just rolled my eyes the entire time. And I hated the Bernie character, the podcast conspiracy theorist. He continuously annoyed the fuck out of me. Take these two characters out of the film with Dan Stevenson as the veterinarian and the podcast conspiracy theorist, and it would not have affected the outcome. It would not have done anything to impact the story. And the gauntlet that Kong gets as an upgrade, which is it's basically an infinity gauntlet, let's be honest. But the way they did that in context made zero sense. I was like, what? How did that make any sense? Like, I'm not going to go into the huge detail. Overall, I did not like this movie, and I couldn't be very well I couldn't be entertained, and it didn't satisfy me by the end. I came out of the theater feeling empty. I know what I was getting myself into. I know I was going to get a monster fight entertainment, and we're not going to get a deep story at all. I get it. But it was so hard for me to be entertained with the monster fights when I did not give a shit about anything else in the film whatsoever. It didn't do anything to impact me and make me cheer. Now, look, a lot of the people in the theater where I was at, a lot of people cheered and clapped by the very end of the film and had a great time. And look, just because I did not love this movie, that doesn't mean that most of you are not going to like it. If you're just in for the monster fights, this movie is definitely going to be for you, and you already know what this film is going to be. And I think you're going to be satisfied to be entertained by the end of the film. For me, I just really couldn't. I could not have fun with this. And look, I'll give you for example, I didn't come out of King of the Monsters feeling empty. I didn't came out of Godzilla vs. Kong feeling empty. I was entertained by those movies, even though they weren't great. But this one, it just felt like it fell on its face completely and it felt lazy. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is on the same playing field with Madam Web. I just felt like it just felt like a mid film, and it just felt so generic that I just didn't really care by the end. And a film that I just really don't care to watch again. And the movie is so inconsequential because there's a lot of body counts with the human characters and soul destruction that Kong and Godzilla had caused when they got into the fight in the third act with the Scar King in Brazil. When they could have stayed on Hollow Earth where there's less human casualties. For some stupid reason, they wanted to take the fight to the Brazil when they could have kept him from leaving Hollow Earth. I mean, that's what they should have done differently. I mean, I don't even think they're going to address what the body count and the destruction that went on in that city. A lot of people died, and they're trying to label them as heroes, especially Godzilla, when Godzilla killed a lot of human characters throughout the whole movie. But you know what? It's one of those things that you have to turn your brain off and suspend your disbeliefs, and you just gotta let shit go and not think about it too much and just enjoy the ride. And I know that Godzilla Minus One is not connected to the MonsterVerse. I know that it's separate, but at least the people who had worked on that movie, they really put their heart into it, and they gave us a great human story that served a great purpose and it had a great impact to the film as a whole. And we still managed to get Godzilla in the film a lot more. even though he didn't have a lot of screen time, but he was used perfectly in Godzilla minus one. He became a threat and something that they had to destroy. And I loved it. And they delivered the monster mayhem in Godzilla minus one. And that's when I thought that American Hollywood needs to start taking notes. I said this many times in my last video of my top 10 favorite movies of the year and my Godzilla minus one review. There is a way to do both when you're making monster movies. You could still manage to have a great human story that has a purpose and it has a deep impact to the film as a whole, and you could still deliver great spectacle action monster fights. You could still do that. You can manage to do both. Godzilla minus one proved that you can do both and not pick one thing or the other. You don't have to do that. You can balance it both, and it did it so well. But Godzilla and XCon in the whole MonsterVerse, you already know that they're not going to do that, and it just seems to me being lazy. And the more they keep doing this, the more it's starting to wear itself out, and it makes me not care about anything in the what they're going to do in the upcoming MonsterVerse movie. Now, I will give you one thing that I liked about the MonsterVerse whole content that is part of this whole shared cinematic universe. There's a show called Monarch: Legacy of Monsters that you're exploring the human characters and the conspiracy theory that went on during the times with Monarch and this whole Titans and all that stuff. They told a great human story, and the show was much better than I thought it would be. And I encourage you to check that out on Apple TV Plus because that show really delivered. And yes, they did a great job of connecting to the movies, and this is the first time they actually gave us a better human story that I can connect with, and it made sense. But for the movies, they completely went away with it. Like you can just forget about the Monarch and not, and they, you don't really, and it's not really require you to watch that show to know what's going on in Godzilla X Con because it's a standalone story. It really was, to be honest with you. Now, have you seen Godzilla X Con? What did you think of it? Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? Hey, feel free to disagree with me. I would love to hear your thoughts on the movie. I'm pretty sure that some of you out there who have already seen it, you really enjoyed it and you were entertaining. You already know what this film is. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this video, make sure you leave it a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos to come. I appreciate your guys' support. If you want to follow my social media platforms, the link tree will be down in the description down below. I'm active on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Threads, Snapchat. So be sure to check that out. And also, I hope you have a great Easter, a great day, and great evening. I hope you have a great time with your family on Easter. I hope you guys stay safe and take care.